You are audible.
Okay, sir.
Mary Shanti, అక్కడ ఎవరు ఇష్టపడి ప్లాంట్ ప్రెగ్నెన్సీ ఎక్కువ పెట్టింది బోనాలు బోనాలు
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
So you are recording this event, sir?
राजश्री सोल से सारे अपडेट्स पाने के लिए बेल आइकन दबाइए।
So today, as the world is coming out from the pandemic, slowly recovering, we at World Virtual Conferences are striving towards the betterment of every individual by spreading information on multifaceted topics in our conferences and events. World Virtual Conferences is a research and education based non-profit organization in India. Our primary goal is to promote research and developmental activities over the globe, along with scientific information, interchange between researchers, developers, engineers, students, and practitioners. At World Virtual Conferences, we have had various personalities from different backgrounds who have shared their views on topics like digital media, COVID-19 crisis, online education, and a lot more. So today's conference will feature Dr. Pakuluri Kiran Sri. So I request to coordinator of this webinar, Lokendra Kumar Ojha, for the inaugural message.
Uh, Thank you so much. So, am I audible to everyone?
You are audible, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay. So, it's my privilege and pleasure to introduce today's speaker. But before introducing him, I must express my gratitude to the organizers who chosen such a important topic for the discussion: recent advances in artificial intelligence. Well, artificial intelligence refers to simulation of human intelligence in machines, and that are something to program to think like machine, think like human, and mimic their action. So, in this, we have Dr. Pokuluri Kiran Shri. He is professor in Department of Computer Science Engineering, and he is from Sri Vishnu Engineering College for Women, Andhra Pradesh. And he has received BTech from JNTU and ME in Computer Science Engineering from Anna University. He's obtained his PhD in the area of artificial intelligence from JNTU Hyderabad. And his area of research interest is bioinformatics, deep learning, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, etc. He has published more than 80 research papers in various international journals and published 8 textbooks for UG and PG students. He has a very vast experience of research and the teaching, 18 plus years. Along with this, he has also filed 4 patents in the area of deep learning. He is a recipient of many prestigious awards and honors in this category. He is a recipient of Bharat Excellence Award from Dr. G.V. Krishnamurthy. He is a former election commissioner for Government of India for 2 times. Along with this, he is also recipient of Rashtriya Ratna Award. He has a vast experience in the area of research. So he is a reviewer and editorial board members in many journals, many international journals. This is very brief about today's speaker, and as we all gathered here to learn something from today's speaker, to discuss some things about the artificial intelligence. So without any other formalities, now I would like to invite today's speaker, Dr. Pokuluri Kiran Shri, to deliver his talk on recent advances in artificial intelligence. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Dr. Oja, for the nice introduction. I have to thank Rahul Kumar Verma Garu, the director for this World Virtual Conferences, for giving me this opportunity. And I just start sharing my screen. Is my screen visible, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, visible.
Thank you very much. Once again, on behalf of myself, I welcome all the participants to this international webinar on recent advancements in artificial intelligence. So we are living in a world of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence has become an integral part of our life. So the aim of the particular webinar is what type of different mechanisms of AI are there, and what are the prominent applications of artificial intelligence? Then what exactly is machine learning? What is the strength of machine learning? What are the pros and cons of machine learning? Then why do we need a deep learning concept? And then we will see a case study and just we will conclude. So the aim of the entire webinar is to introduce various concepts of artificial intelligence, how they will be useful for pursuing the PhD, particularly in the aspect of research aspect. So this is my outline of the entire research. So I start with different types of AI mechanisms. Then I will discuss various applications of AI in the respect of research. And I try to find out what is the difference between a traditional system and an AI system, and difference between AI system and a neural network system. What exactly is machine learning? What are the various algorithms or mechanisms in machine learning? What are the pros and cons of machine learning? Why we are going for deep learning? What are the applications of deep learning, and how many mechanisms are there in deep learning? Then we will see a case study. This is what the overview of my entire presentation is. So without without wasting time, we will go to the first slide. How many types of mechanisms are there in artificial intelligence? So we could find 4 different types of mechanisms in artificial intelligence. The first mechanism is thinking humanly. Can we develop computers in which can think exactly like a human being? It's very difficult. It's very difficult to think like a human being, because we cannot replicate the human brain. The second aspect is acting humanly. Acting humanly is, can some of the aspects that are done by human beings can be done by a system? Can we train a computer to do some things that are done by human beings to some extent better than the human beings? Can we try this? To some extent, this can be possible. The clear cut definition is the acting humanly is the study of how computers do things at this moment people are doing better. The next one is thinking rationally. Can we develop a system which can think rationally? Or indirectly, can we use some computational models to design things? It's very difficult for us to develop a system which will think rationally. It's very difficult to develop such type of systems. The last one is acting rationally. Can we design a computer which exhibits intelligence? Or can we design an intelligent agent? Or can we design a computer which exhibits some intelligence? This is possible. We have many examples that where we could find for acting rationally and acting humanly. These are the different type of mechanisms that we could see everywhere in artificial intelligence. Whether you talk about Sophia or Mycin, all the applications of AI will fall into either acting humanly or acting rationally. Just I will clear this and go to the next slide to see the applications of artificial intelligence. So I said AI has been the integral part of our life. We are living with AI. So obviously everywhere, wherever you go, the AI will follow you. So the first example that I have taken to tell you about the applications of artificial intelligence is a Deep Blue. So you could see there, a Deep Blue is a chess playing system which has defeated the world champion Garry Kasparov in 1997. So the thing about particular interesting fact about the chess game is we have 64 boxes where 32 pieces will be kept, and each piece will have different instructions. The challenging thing is, can you design a strategy to implement this chess game? Whenever people think about artificial intelligence, they will think about the games, whether it is a chess game or it is a NIM game or it is a tic-tac-toe game. Most of the people in houses, they will play this tic-tac-toe game like this. So we have a state space H of 9 boxes. 2 players will play the game. So what is that I do is I will keep my place here, my O here. So my opponent will play X here. So obviously if I keep a O here, obviously the opponent has to keep X here. Then again I have to keep O here. Again the opponent will keep X here. But the interesting fact that I wish to tell you is, this is a game which consists of 9 cells, and there is a transition from one state to other state. I will start here and then the opponent plays, again I will play. How can you implement these games by using a computer strategy? This is very important. what type of mechanism that will apply to implement a chess game or a tic-tac-toe game or a NIM game. So this is what is very important in the context of artificial intelligence. So I'm just rubbing this one, and we'll go to the next. So you could see a Tesla here. Tesla is an example of a semi-automated car, an autonomous car, self-driven car, where the basic idea behind Tesla is deep learning. For what are the functions that we have, we could see in Tesla is lane centering will be there. You could also think about adaptive cruise size control, self-parking, and automatic lane change. Like we use cell automata when we move from one state to other state while driving. What is that we see is we'll try to see about the left neighbor, right neighbor, and the front and behind. So we need to consider every time the distance between the four people. So that technique we call it as a deep learning, and the technique, the applications of deep learning is Tesla, a semi-automated car. And we have many other applications of artificial intelligence. We could see in the next slide like this. We could see a humanoid robot. Most of the people know this name, like Sophia. Sophia is a humanoid robot where it can give expressions like human beings. It can interact with people. It can give some emotions also, and it can also give some facial expressions. So we could see that Sophia is taking a class for 8th class students. So a humanoid robot was trying to take a class. So this is an application of deep learning. After machine learning, we have a technique called as machine learning, where we could, hello? So Sophia is one of the example of a humanoid robot. Next, you could see a Mycin. Mycin is an expert system that is pertaining to health informatics. So while using Mycin, what is that we can do is a doctor can prescribe medicines without any side effects. Or if you give the set of symptoms, Mycin will give you the set of diseases that are attributed with these symptoms. So many versions of Mycin are there. Mycin is an example of an expert system that is pertaining to health informatics. So many other examples you could see. An artificial intelligence is there, is applied in sports. Like particularly we could see this software as a Hawkeye, where it's very difficult to predict the movement of the ball once it was pitched. Once the ball was pitched, the deviation, the amount of deviation, the height that the ball will travel after pitching, it's very difficult to predict. So that was done in deep learning, and we call that the software as Hawkeye, and we use that Hawkeye in all the cricket games. The other applications of AI are face recognition. You could see in Facebook or even in Twitter, how do you find the similar faces pertaining to your face? You have to go for a face learning, whether you are applying edge detection or any other algorithms. The face detection is a vital application of artificial intelligence. Many other applications are there. I'm just taking very few applications so that you understand the strength of artificial intelligence in various fields. So we have many expert systems which predict the variations of weather, like how whether in the terms of temperature, or whether in the terms of wind speed, whether in the terms of amount of rainfall, what is the humidity that we can have, and pressure that we have. And we can have many of expert systems which predict the variations of this weather. So we have few expert systems that will predict the variations of stock market also. So stock market price will vary with respect to the political decisions. We have to apply sentimental analysis on this stock market so that we can get the correct predictions. So we will use LSTM, long short-term memory. That is a technique of deep learning to develop an expert system for stock market prediction. we have n number of stock market prediction systems are there based on various dynamic attributes. So recently, the government of India is going to just introduce e-challan. When a car exceeds a speed limit, a certain speed limit, obviously cameras are kept in this national highways, and these cameras will take a picture, and they convert the picture into a text, and they will automatically they will send a mail to your email that was registered, saying this is the amount of speed that was overhead, and then you have to pay this amount of fees. This is an application of how AI will convert an image into text and text into email. So everything, like most of the people heard about a concept called as RPA, robotic process automation, where some of the tasks that are mundane that can be done by a robot. So now we are living in a world where there is a robot for everyone. So AI applications are everywhere, like in product sessions, like when you procure something in Amazon or Flipkart, all the suggestions that Amazon or Flipkart or any other e-commerce website will suggest is based on the history, and that is an AI technique which will process and predicts what type of see, I procure a mobile, then it will tell you about the pouch of that mobile. So it will predict what type of history, and based on the history that you search, as well as based on the searching that you do, it will also predict the next product that you are going to procure. And that is a concept in artificial intelligence. Many other applications are there. You go for YouTube and listen some music. Relatively, when you start to search a music and just listen, all the other sessions will be based on how you search and what type of music that you are listening, how much time you are listening. Based on this, it will recommend your videos. Some interesting fact I wish to share you is people from MIT, they're applying various deep learning mechanisms to predict future. So before getting into the next slide, I'm just try to summarize the various applications of artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is used in sports. That's what I said. Hawkeye is a very important example of your AI in sports. In agriculture, like how do you select a particular crop for a particular field? How do you monitor crop or drone technology? All this will be in the area of artificial intelligence. In automobile industry also, your AI was there in the name of Tesla or any self-assisted cars. All these are the technologies of AI. Behind this, we have deep learning. So AI was integral part of shopping. All these e-commerce websites, whether they go for product recommendations, they will use this. In particularly, if you see some of the prominent e-commerce websites or banks, you could see some chatbots. They will interact with the customers and they will provide a basic to advanced information regarding their products. I wish to share an interesting fact, like we have a chat box called as Eliza, where this Eliza will interact with the people, like it will ask a few questions, set of questions from 6 to 12. And based on the way in which you answer the queries, it will tell you the mindset of the person at that moment. It is a chatbot. So now we are in a world like we need a chatbot for every person. Like this RPA has become more regular and common now. So artificial intelligence was into home automation. You have smart TV, you have your AC, and you are setting a timer, you are using IoT plus AI. That is the reason I started like this. AI is a integral part of our life. You take any social network, the Twitter or Facebook, they apply this image recognition technique from deep learning, and they will use this. So in social networks also, there are some applications of deep learning. Most of the applications of deep learning or artificial intelligence will be in gaming sector. Even in education sector also, to create dynamic courses classroom management, and peer level education, we are using this artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence was also there in navigation sector, where you wish to find out, you just think about Google Maps or any other assistive technology. We have application of AI. Without AI, this Google Map and all things, they cannot predict what is the shortest distance between Chennai to Hyderabad. It will vary with respect to time and the traffic. So all these are dynamic parameters that will change with respect to time. When we have many dynamic parameters, the mechanism that we apply is a deep learning mechanism with several parameters. And this is an application of deep learning. In health sector, we have n number of applications in artificial intelligence. I said we have discussed about mycin. Apart from mycin, also we have like people are suffering with chronic diseases. Then we have a AI system which will process all these things and tell you whether the disease is inherited from the father or mother. And if you have 6 fingers in the hand, what is the reason for 6 fingers? Some people will have white hair from the child born. So what is the reason for having that? So all these many applications of bioinformatics are getting solved by artificial intelligence. Whether you use a machine learning or whether you use a deep learning, many applications, open problems in bioinformatics are getting solved by using AI. So health sector, we have many applications of AI. Relatively creative sector. Creativity means we think about a creation of a robot. Everywhere we have the use of artificial intelligence. So most of the people heard about the names called as Siri, Alexa, Google Home. All these three are virtual assistants. Like Siri is developed by Apple, where it is a virtual assistant which will give you or which will discuss with you. Like it can take your voice queries, it can answer your queries, it can make recommendations, it can also go for searches. In the same case, we have a tool from Alexa called as, it is from Amazon, where it is also a virtual assistant. It can interact with you, it can play music for you, and it will be used for home automation also. The same kind of software we could use Google Home, where it is used for context sensitive searching. So all these are applications of artificial intelligence. See, I ask Alexa, just play the music Talli Pogara is a song in Tamil. So Alexa has played the song. The same query I have asked Google Home, it is not able to play. It depends upon the query that we have given. See, I asked a query to Alexa, where is my mobile? And it is not able to answer. But I asked the same question, where is my mobile, to Google, it has answered my query because it has called and I could see my mobile. It depends, like when you want to go for a context sensitive searches, then it is better to go for Google. When you need to have a localized preferences, then it is better to go for Alexa. It depends upon how you use. My interest is, we have many applications of AI like Siri from Apple, Alexa from Amazon, and Google Home is there. All this will translate and it can understand your voice and it can reply, and they will make us feel better, and they make our life more better and it's flexible. So even finally, I just wish conclude this application part. We have various mechanisms which are addressing the problem of COVID also. We have almost 17 different types of deep learning mechanisms which are trying to monitor the social distancing mechanism. See, I have an enterprise where I wish to monitor the social distance mechanism in my company. We have a software for that. And we have a technique, like we have 6 different techniques in deep learning which can process the X-rays of patients, and it can predict whether the future X-rays, if I give an X-ray, it can tell whether this X-ray can be paid to a course or not. Even people, we have deep learning and machine learning to find whether the people are having the proper masks or not. So obviously, we have many applications of deep learning machine learning. Just something like
Hello. So, pardon? Actually,
Hello.
you, you are not audible, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, I can't getting your voice clearly.
Hello. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
sir, I have joined back. There is a small technical glitch in my. I'm just start sharing my screen.
Okay, okay, no worries.
Please. So we have n. So sorry for the disturbance, and we have n applications that has addressed the problem of COVID, whether it is to monitor the social distancing mechanism, or whether the people are using the masks to process X-rays. All this we have different type of systems which are pertaining to deep learning. So these are the applications of AI. We'll go to the next slide, which will discuss about what will be the difference between a normal system and an AI system. So generally what will happen in a traditional system is, in traditional system, we try to write the source code, then try to compile the system and then execute. Whereas in AI system, we try to find out the correct data sets, and then we try to have applying where we can go for either machine learning and deep learning algorithms, and then we try to predict, try to develop a classifier. My interest is something like this. We collect the data sets, then we try to apply a machine learning or deep learning algorithm, then we are trying to develop a predictor which can predict a class. But there is a difference between an AI system and a neural network system, where your AI system is mostly will be into a design part, and your neural network system will be into a training and testing part. Your AI system will be into design part, and your ANN system will be into training part. And the representation that we use in artificial intelligence is a symbolic representation, whereas the representation that we use in neural network is a numeric representation. Are you getting any disturbance in my voice, madam? Are you getting any disturbance in my voice? Or it is clear?
No, sir, no problem.
No problem.
It is
Okay, sir.
clear.
I'll just continue then. I'm just
Okay, sir.
so the output is self-explanatory in the context of artificial intelligence system, but it's very difficult to explain the output in a neural network system. The processing that we use in AI is a sequential processing, whereas in neural network, we use a distributed mechanism to process things parallelly. And in artificial intelligence, what will happen is the fault tolerant is very less, but in neural network system, the fault tolerance will be more. So obviously, it's very important. Most of the people ask me, what is actually a machine learning concept? Like what is that we do in machine learning is we have the input, you have the output, you're trying to build a model which will fit for the given input and the given output. So it's very important observation that you need to learn from this machine learning. Machine learning not only thinks about like, it not only uses the statistical tools to explore data, but the basic interest of machine learning in the terms of implementation is it try to design a model which will fit for your input and output. So this is what the outcome of this slide. So this is also very important. What exactly is artificial intelligence? What is machine learning and what is deep learning? So we have many definitions we have seen for artificial intelligence. So AI will enable the machine to think, whereas machine learning uses statistical tools to explore data. So this is what the general definition, but what is the definition of machine learning with respect to AI is something like this. So AI systems needs the ability to acquire their knowledge by extracting patterns from raw data. That ability is called as machine learning. So we need to extract something from the patterns and predict something. That ability is a machine learning ability. Or in general, people say ability to learn without explicitly getting programmed is nothing but your machine learning. Informally, I can say if somebody want to implement AI, they have to either go for machine learning or a deep learning or in a combination of both of them. It is in the terms of implementation, it's informal definition. I also said in machine learning, we are only concerned about how can you design a model that will be fitting for your input and output. So the output of machine learning, informally, I can say it is a model. So deep learning is a set of deep neural networks. Deep means when the number of features are more, the number of hidden layers are more. That is the reason we say that is a deep model. Deep is when the number of layers will be more, depends upon your application. So that is what deep learning is. So my interest of this entire webinar is we started with what is exactly is AI is, what are the different mechanisms of AI, what are the applications of AI. We are getting into machine learning and we'll see what are the various mechanisms that we could see in machine learning, supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforced learning. And we'll also see what are the disadvantages of machine learning, why we are going for deep learning in the next slide. We'll go to the next slide. So the next 20 minutes discussion will be on machine learning. The outcome of this 15 to 20 minutes will be how can you apply or where can you apply supervised learning, where can you apply unsupervised learning, and what is reinforced learning, and what are the drawbacks of machine learning. So in general, most of the people who are in computer science knows what is a supervised learning. Supervised learning is learning where the data is labeled. We could know this particular class of the data. So obviously our work is very easy. So your algorithm, what is that we have to do is in supervised learning is, since the data is labeled, algorithms has to predict the output from the given input. There is a simple task that we could see in supervised learning. Whereas in unsupervised learning, the data is not labeled, the class of the data are not known. So we need to find the inherent structure, like what is the differences between these two data sets. If we need to find out the differences from the input itself, and the condition that we generally apply is, we will see a high intra-similarity clusters are formed and low inter-similarity clusters are formed. That is, we call it as unsupervised learning. Learning which will happen in the terms of feedback. We take a feedback and try to design things. It is a reinforced learning. So most of the time when we design robots, we go for this reinforced learning. So finally, at the end of, after completing these 3 learning algorithms, we try to find out what are the problems of machine learning, and then we'll go for deep learning. So the next slide, we could see what are the different mechanisms we could find in supervised learning. Like in supervised learning, we have 2 types of techniques. One technique, we call it as regression. Other technique called as a classification. We have different type of mechanisms. We could see this in the next slide. So supervised learning, we have 2 mechanisms where all the algorithms like the linear regression or random forest, support vector mission, and k-nearest neighboring algorithm will be falling into either of these or both of them. So classification is a process of categorizing the given set of data into classes. Very simple. How do you classify the data into set of classes? It can be performed on structured as well as unstructured data. It's very important, because in deep learning we say deep learning can be performed on structured and unstructured data as well as labeled and unlabeled data also there. So regression is a statistical approach to find the relation among the variables. This is the basic definitions of this classification and regression, and we'll go to the various algorithms by name, like linear regression. What is the strength of linear regression? What is the strength of random forest? When can I apply random forest? When can I apply SVM? When I have to go for k-nearest neighborhood algorithm? This discussion we can have for 2 or 3 minutes. So a linear regression can be used when you want to predict continuous dependent variables from number of independent variables. So it's very simple aspect, and it's a general aspect. Most important supervised algorithms are random forest algorithm, decision tree algorithm, support vector mission, and k-nearest neighborhood algorithm. The 4 algorithms are very important. If you consider random forest, a random forest will support both regression as well as classification. It's the most important feature. The advantage that you could find in random forest is independent trees can be built parallelly, and this model will not fit very easily, and the output, like the accuracy of the classifier, is reasonable. The main disadvantage that we could find in random forest is, if you want to get a more accuracy, we need to build more trees. What will happen if I build more trees? It will be slowing down the process. It is a time consuming aspect. And apart from that, a random forest is very difficult to interpret the data. Like in decision tree, it's very easy to interpret, whereas in random forest, it's very difficult. So when the data is independent and your trees can be built parallelly, then we can go for random forest algorithm. The next algorithm that I have reported here is a support vector machine. It's very simple concept with more applications, where SVM can be applied again both for regression as well as classification. The advantage that we have for SVM is it can be applied for both for linear and non-linear problems. It's the most important feature of SVM that we have applied actually. I have developed a classifier to predict various type of genes using SVM. While we integrate this SVM with a deep learning model to address a problem in bioinformatics, we have used this SVM. Where the SVM, the main disadvantage that we have in SVM is it is not suitable for large data sets. And the performance will be varying with respect to the noise that you have in the data sets. But having said this disadvantage, I will also add there are many applications of SVM in face detection, classification of images. In bioinformatics, many applications are there, even a hand recognition, hand written recognition also, many applications are there. So SVM is the most important technique that we learn in supervised learning. And we have another mechanism called as decision tree. Like decision tree have n number of applications. Like again, decision tree can be used both for classification as well as regression. Decision tree uses a true representation, like it's a true tree. It will use a tree which was where the classes are labeled at leaves. Many examples are there. We can take problems in operation research. We have many applications of this decision tree. But the small disadvantage is if there is a small change in data also, we need to change the entire structure. That is the disadvantage that we could find in this decision tree. And particularly when the data changes, we have a different tree which leads to what is that we call it as instability. So in supervised learning, the most important algorithms are SVM as well as your decision tree, which was not reported here, but decision tree is the most important algorithm that we could find in supervised learning algorithm. So the other simple algorithm is a k-nearest algorithm, where the technique they will use is based on the similarity measures. Or similarity measure, indirectly we can say it is a distance function. It stores all the cases available and classifies the new cases based on the similarity measures. It will compute the distance and then it will apply this. The strength that we have in k-nearest algorithm is it will be can be applied for regression as well as classification also.
Sir, I want to ask a question on SVM.
Please sir, and SVM?
Sir, when will the SVM less effective?
SVM?
When will be the SVM less effective? Sir, can you tell me?
When can you apply SVM? Is it right? That's what you are asking?
Yes, sir.
So you can apply this SVM when the data set is less actually. And particularly we have, when you have linear as well as non-linear data also, you can apply this SVM. But the only disadvantage that you could find in SVM is when the data sets are more, the accuracy rate will be less. And the applications of SVM are face detection, classification of images, the problems in bioinformatics like what is the disease causing gene, whether it is inherited from your father or mother. Many applications are there for this SVM.
Okay. Sir, will it affect overlapping points?
Hello?
Sir, I want to ask that.
Just
Hello?
repeat your question. I'm not able to listen to you.
Sir, will SVM affect the overlapping points?
SVM apply to?
Sir, will SVM affect the overlapping points? I want to ask that.
Can it be applied on time series data? You're asking like that?
Yes, sir.
See, we have many applications of SVM on time series data. When you talk about time series data, we have an example called stock market prediction, where every parameter will change with respect to time. So you can apply SVM. But the basic limitation, advantage that SVM is having is it can be applied in a linear or nonlinear fashion based on the strength. But the disadvantage is when it has, when we try to process large data sets, we will not get more accuracy. That is the reason instead of SVM, better to go for CNN in deep learning. We will get that concept in the later slides.
Okay, so got it clearly.
Thank you. And K-nearest neighboring algorithm is the simplest algorithm. It will classify things based on the distance.
Excuse me, sir.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead. If you want to have any query, please.
Hello.
Sir, please.
Excuse me, sir.
Hello. Can you?
I would like to request the participants. Please let finish the presentation first, and then we have a question answer session. So please, the speaker must complete his presentation. Then only we'll move for the question answer.
That is better. That is better.
Okay, sir.
I will just continue. I will take all the questions very leisurely at the last. So we'll have a fruitful discussion also. So I have completed this part. Like when the data is labeled, we can select any of the algorithm. The first four prominent algorithms that we could find in supervised learning is a random forest algorithm, very simple and very accurate. When you have non-linearity in your data, then go for SVM. You have applications pertaining to prediction of the gold rate or prediction of petrol rates, then go for K-nearest algorithm. The reason is it is based on distance metric. So we'll go to the next slide, like how many different types of unsupervised learning mechanisms are there? What are the strengths of these mechanisms? I said in unsupervised learning mechanism, the data is not labeled. So we need to identify the inherent closeness. Finding many techniques. We have some technique called as principal component analysis, where it is a statistical technique used to examine the interrelations among a set of variables. It's very easy. So many applications are there in PCA in the terms of facial recognition, image compression. Like we're using PCA with cellular automata to compress various images in various formats. So this is a small example in unsupervised learning, but the most important algorithm in unsupervised learning is a K-means algorithm. So K-means is the oldest algorithm. Still, we could find many of the people are working in K-means with a different type of variations. It is the very simplest and most popular since 20 years, so you can say, because various versions of K-means I have also used. So it is based on identifying the K number of centroid and then allocating each data point to the nearest cluster. This is what the strength of K-means algorithm is. But the disadvantage that you have in K-means algorithm is it's very difficult to predict the K value, but we have many advantages for this K-means algorithm. You can apply this algorithm. This will give greater accuracies when you have larger data sets. That is the reason people, when they have a large data sets, they will not go for SVM, they will go for K-means. And K-means will adopt very easily to the new examples. You give a new testing sample, it will give an accuracy more than 91 or 92% in the terms of bioinformatics applications. So K-means is one of the most important algorithms in unsupervised learning. And the other example that I have taken is an a priori algorithm. Most of the people know about an a priori algorithm in data mining, where we try to find out the frequent item sets. The example most of the people know, this market basket analysis will be there. That is an example of a priori algorithm. That also where the data is not labeled, so we can say it is unsupervised mechanism. Hierarchical clustering is one of the important mechanisms that we could find in unsupervised learning, where many applications related to biometric will be falling into this hierarchical clustering. So the advantage that you have for hierarchical clustering is the structure is very informative. You can see the structure and can understand this, which where we cannot do that in K-means. But the disadvantage is hierarchical clustering is not suitable for large data sets. And it is also sensitive to outliers. When you have large data and your data is sensitive, then you have to go for k-means when you are adapting for unsupervised learning mechanisms. So in the last 20 minutes, what is that we have seen is, we have seen various algorithms in supervised learning, and we have seen various machine learning mechanisms, and particularly we have seen which algorithm has to be applied for which application. I have an application where I have an application, when I have taken a webinar last week for University of Kufa in Iraq, they have asked me something like this. Where can we apply, which can, like when we wish to apply or perform arithmetic operations on Arabic numerals, on Roman numerals, which is faster, they have asked me. The interesting fact that was behind that question is, the disadvantage that machine learning will suffer is, it depends upon the way in which the representation of data is stored. So we can perform arithmetic operations very easily on Arabic numerals than Roman numerals. The Arabic numerals are stored. The representation matters in machine learning. That is the first disadvantage that we could see in machine learning. The choice of representation has an enormous effect on the performance of machine learning algorithm. So since the representation of Arabic numerals is very flexible, we could perform arithmetic operations very easily on machine learning. Even you asked me what are the disadvantages of machine learning, I could say when the data is more and when the features are more, it's very difficult to apply machine learning for greater accuracies. Like I have given 100 images to classify the images into animals and cars. So it's very easy, like animals will have a different features and cars will have a different future. So obviously all the machine learning algorithms will give a greater accuracy. But if I ask you what type of animal it is and what type of cars they are, then the number of features to identify the problem will increase. And I increase the data, then the machine algorithm will not perform better. I could explain this by a graph. See this graph. So a normal machine learning algorithm, when the data is getting increased, the performance is like a plateau. Just we could see this is a plateau where the performance of algorithms will be stable. It is continuous. But if you consider deep learning mechanisms, when the data increases, the performance increases. When the data increases and the features increases, generally people will go for deep learning. When people try to process images, when people try to process audio, videos, generally all the inbuilt strategies will be there in deep learning mechanism, where the average accuracy will be more than 86 when you consider bioinformatics and image processing. So obviously, when the data is more in general and the number of features to find them fit the model are there, then generally people will go for deep learning. This is very important aspect, like how do you connect machine learning with deep learning? Why we are going to deep learning is very important observation that I could find from this graph. Going to the next strategies. In the next slides, what is that we try to do is, what are the various mechanisms of deep learning and what are the applications of that mechanisms, and then we just try to close the session. So all these are applications of deep learning. People try to have, say, like deep learning can be applied on structured, unstructured, labeled and unlabeled data also. Why people say deep learning means, deep learning is nothing but deep neural networks. When the number of features increase like this, when the number of features are more, then what will happen? Number of hidden layers will be more. That is the reason we say, we call it as deep learning. Features are more, the input and your hidden layers are more, then we need to process and then we get a deep learning model. We will see what exactly are the deep learning models that are very important. We will also see the applications of deep learning models. Then we try to conclude the session. So when people talk about deep learning, we can start with a sigmoid neuron, where we can say that sigmoid neuron is a simple deep learning technique with a single perceptron and a single layer. And the next model that we can discuss is a multi-layer perceptron model, where at most you can have 2 hidden layers. And the technique or the mechanism that they follow in multi-layer perceptron is a feed-forward network. And many applications are there. Even though multi-layer perceptron, we have 2 hidden mechanisms, hidden layers maximum. We have various applications in image recognition, speech recognition, machine translation, and all the e-commerce websites, they will integrate this multi-layer perceptron model. It's very easy. So then the next prominent models that we could have reported here is a recurrent neural network. When your data is sequential, when you have a time series data, when you try to have the same thing in supervised learning or machine learning concept, we try to use SVM. But compared to SVM, when you have a sequential data and a time series data, better go for RNN. Even when you need to have more storage specific, we have an extension of RNN, we call it as LSTM, long short term memory. We can go for LSTM also. That is the reason that I'm answering to the person who has asked me the query just now. So when you have a sequential data, better to go for RNN. When the data memory is needed, then you have to go for LSTM. Both are same. The extension of RNN is nothing but long short term memory. So we have many applications of RNN. The strategy that they follow in RNN is a backpropagation strategy, whereas in multi-layer perceptron model, the strategy they have used is a feed-forward network. We have many applications of RNN. When people try to remember RNN, they will say, if somebody want to process a set of related videos, a sequence of words, sequence of images, a sequence of letters and words, then the people will go for RNN. Just a minute. So RNN and LSTM, the extension of RNN can be called as LSTM. LSTM will have its own advantages and significance. The one strength of RNN is it uses an internal memory to process and store the variable input, whereas the memory that we could see in LSTM is more. And we have applications of LSTM as stock market prediction, sentimental analysis, and many applications are there for LSTM, like how do you predict the variations of price in the terms of petrol. So the next important technique that we could find in deep learning model is a convolution neural network, where the strategy they used is, we use particularly because CNN I have used for crop yield prediction. Like I have taken almost 16 crops and I have taken the leaves of the healthy crop as well as diseased crop, and we try to process and develop this AI mechanism, where this paper was published in a scientific journal by Elsewhere. So CNN mechanism is a feed forward mechanism where most of the people use this. The technique that most of the people applications of the CNN will be image processing, video recognition, NLP, pattern recognition. Most of the applications are in medical image analysis, like how do you identify a protein coding region in a DNA sequence? It's very difficult. That can be done by CNN. And how do you find the quaternary structure of protein? It's very difficult. That can be done by CNN. Now people, if you search in the internet, people are using a combination of CNN and RNN to produce a hybrid structure with more volatility and more accuracy. And still we have a deep learning model that is getting evolved. We call it as a TAN, which is an algorithm that can be used in the combination of CNN and RNN where it gives a more energy efficient mechanism. So RNN we have covered. Many applications of RNN will fall into how do you process videos, how do you go for sentimental analysis, and CNN I said for video recognition and pattern recognition. Many applications of CNN will fall into medical image analysis, whether it is analysis pertaining to the X-rays of COVID or anybody. That's what we have discussed in the earlier slides. So the next mechanism that we can discuss is generative adversarial network, where the mechanism or the strategy is unsupervised structure. This has many applications in the terms of cyber security. And most of the video games, when people try to play these games at people at different locations, they use this GAN. And speech recognition and NLP, particularly, how can you recognize, how can you translate from one language to other language? We can go for GAN. And we could see n number of applications are there in the health diagnosis areas. Like I said, what can be the disease causing gene if they are suffering with a chronic disease? That is what the application of GAN is. GAN is generative adversarial network, is a very important algorithm or mechanism which uses unsupervised structure, because the data is not labeled. Then we go for this GAN. The next mechanism that we could find in deep learning is restricted Boltzmann machine, where most of the time when we try to apply probability, see, RBM can learn from probability distribution of various inputs. When people try to apply these recommendation systems and future extractions and filtering, they go for RBM. And even most of the people, now people are talking about topic modeling. We could see in IIT Madras, we have a particular lab pertaining to this deep learning, where most of the people are working in topic modeling by using RBM. So I could see topic modeling is the most important application pertaining to restricted Boltzmann machine. So my interest of this particular slide is we have to choose a particular model for the particular application, and you have to customize this particular models for use, because when we try to apply a crop reduction method by using CNN, we have used a CNN combination with the settled automata. When we try to predict the variations of stock market prediction, then we have used LSTM with settled automata. So it depends upon the application. We have to choose the corresponding model, and we have to see, when you use a CNN, we have to use a correct convolution function, we have to use a correct ReLU, and we have to use a correct overload function, then we'll get the output. So the last model that I have written here is a deep belief network. Again, this will come into unsupervised probability distribution. When people try to apply face recognition and image processing, particularly video sequencing analysis, like video sequence recognition or analysis, motion capture data, like I wish to keep a CCTV in some place where most of the people are there, like there is some rally is going on someplace, and I have kept a CCTV at some place, and I wish to find out how many people are participating in that rally. Apart from counting the crowd, I need to also find out how many people's behavior are abnormal. Then I have to go for deep belief networks. It's very easy. We call that systems as crowd computing mechanism. Like how do you count the crowd from a video? And this deep learning mechanism, what it will do is it will also identify people whose actions are abnormal, in the terms of spoiling the infrastructure or many actions, whatever we're trying, the deep belief networks, the example is a crowd counting system. You process a video within a second and it will tell you how many people are there in that video. It will also tell the abnormal behavior of people. It will also identify the people who are going to damage your resources physically or mentally. These are the various models that we could find in deep learning. And many other deep learning models are there. Generally, deep learning models are used in combination. Like when you use deep generative models, I am using a hybrid cell automata also for getting linearity of the data. Restricted Boltzmann machine we have discussed, generative adversarial networks we have discussed. We have also other mechanisms like autoencoders, and you have other mechanisms like extensions of this. When we see the application point of view, you will have a combinations of RNN and CNN, CNN plus TAN, LSTM plus GAN. So it depends upon what type of accuracy you need to get, what type of structure the data is. Because restricted Boltzmann machine works on unsupervised structure. So what type of data you have, what is the size of data, and based on that, you need to find out a corresponding model. So the entire objective of the webinar is what exactly is artificial intelligence, what are the various mechanisms that we could find in artificial intelligence, and what are the various algorithms that are pertaining to machine learning, and what is the strength of machine learning, when can you go for a supervised machine learning approaches, when can you go for unsupervised machine learning approaches, when can you go for SVM or when can you go for K-means. K-means algorithm is unsupervised structure where I can go when the number of data sets are more. Same in unsupervised structure, I have an algorithm called as hierarchical clustering, where that will give a better results when the data set is less. So I try to just tell you various strategies of machine learning. What is the disadvantage of machine learning? Because of the disadvantage of machine learning, we have went for deep learning models, like the representation of data, it will suffer in the terms of machine learning. The data size increases, the machine learning performance will be plateau. So the number of features increases, then we have to go for deep learning. All this we have discussed. And finally, we have arrived at why we have to go for deep learning concepts. And we have seen most prominent deep learning models which are available. And we have also discussed the advanced models which are coming in a hybrid structure. Then I try to conclude like all this, whatever we have discussed, whether it is a Siri or any other humanoid robot, or whether you talk about RPA, robotic process automation. The basic background is the deep learning mechanism, because in RPA, what is that we do is we try to design a robot for every person, whether you take UiPath or whether you take a Blue Prism or Automation Anywhere. All these companies are working in RPA. How do you automate yourself by using these RPA tools? So all this we have discussed, and I came to the end of the presentation, and these are the references that I have followed. And I have to thank again this Rahul Kumar Verma, the managing director for this World Virtual Conference. So for giving me this opportunity to interact with all of you. And if you have any queries, I will be happy to take. And if you want to contact me, this is my contact number. You can mail me or you can ping me on WhatsApp, so that I will be very happy to answer your queries with my limited knowledge.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much for such a nice and descriptive presentation. And you had covered almost every dimension of artificial intelligence. And now the session is open for the questions. So please ask your question one by one, so that I'm able to answer you properly.
Or you can type in a chat box so that I will take one by one. Somebody has asked a question privately that what is the output of machine learning? It's very simple actually. In general, when we try to design a normal system, we try to concentrate on the input and output. In machine learning, what is that we try to do is, we try to design a model which will fit for your corresponding input and output. This is what the question I have received. Other question that somebody said, when can I?
Sir, I have a question.
There is a other question privately somebody asked, when can you apply SVM and when cannot? That's what we said actually. SVM can be applied when the number of data sets are more. And it can handle linear as well as non-linear data also. And the disadvantage that SVM is, it will suffers to noise. When the data set is of noisy, obviously the accuracy of data set, your classifier will be less. Instead of SVM, you can go for unsupervised structure called as k-means algorithm. That is a better algorithm when you have more data sets.
Sir, I have just one question.
Please.
Is there any curriculum or syllabi which we can incorporate artificial intelligence at school level? Or because earlier I think NCERT has tried to incorporate this artificial intelligence at school level program. So are you agree?
Actually, I have been a part of a Delhi public school where this artificial intelligence was inculcated for the people for 7th class. So I have the syllabus with me. I will share with Rahul Kumar Verma, the director, so that you will get that. Because the syllabus is framed in such a way that, because artificial intelligence is everywhere. Like kids has to know about AI. So if you see the syllabus of Delhi Public School, they have added this from 8th class. And I have the Board of Studies member for this Delhi Public School in Bhimavaram. So obviously we have framed a syllabus. I will just share it with the organizers so that you will get the syllabus. So I have a question from like, what is the exact difference between deep learning, machine learning, and artificial intelligence? So it's very simple. Like artificial intelligence is into design part, whereas if somebody want to implement AI, they have to choose either machine learning or deep learning. When the number of data sets are very less, then people try to go for machine learning. When the data sets are more and when the number of features are more, then we have to go for deep learning. So most of the applications pertain to voice, video, text analytics. Now people are using deep learning. Simple concepts that we try to find, whether it is a cat or dog, that type of aspects where the data is less and the number of features are less, then we go for machine learning. I could say informally that if somebody want to implement AI, they have to either go for deep learning or machine learning. Depending upon the size of data set, then they can go for machine learning and deep learning. On the number of features, see, I ask what type of animal, you need to find out what type of animal is from the set of images, then it's very difficult. The number of features should be more. How can you differ a dog from cat? Then your deep learning will come into picture and it will answer all the queries. I'm just finding any other question.
Hello.
Madam, please.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Thank you for such an informative session. So my question is about the authenticity and reliability of this artificial intelligence. Is there any legal issue or legal documentation is there about the authenticity and the reliability of AI?
We need to understand actually authenticity. Generally, people when the people try to apply this AI in particularly in network security, then we try to define this reliability and what is that you said? Reliability and
authenticity. Authenticity.
Then we need to define some parameters actually.
Okay. Any legal documentation?
I have to search, madam, because we are trying to build the AI systems, but particularly reliability assessment of AI programs must consider not only the possible program, but but what will happen is we need to have a different, I feel that we need to have a different parameters for this. I'll just search and I will get back to you, because I don't know actually exactly what type of parameters will inculcate this part.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, ma'am. If you have any queries, please get back to me on my email or in my WhatsApp. I'm very happy to learn from you also. If you have any queries, please unmute yourself and talk, or you can type the questions in the chat box.
Okay, so I think we don't have any
Yes.
questions.
Yes.
So if anyone have any doubt or any question, they can simply ask to our speaker personally.
Yes.
And now I'll just invite the host to conclude this webinar.
Okay. Hello, am I audible?
You're audible, madam. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. I really want to give a massive thanks to you. And now I would like to invite for word of thanks, Dr. Anjali Soni.
Okay, thank you, madam. On behalf of the organizing committee, I, Dr. Anjali Soni, here to present the vote of thanks to the people who made this event successful. First of all, I extend my sincere thanks to today's speaker, Professor Dr. Pokuluri Kiran Sri, time with us to grace the occasion and knowledge with all of us. Thank you, sir, for delivering such a wonderful and informative session on the advances of artificial intelligence. With your session, we came to know about the mechanism and applications of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. Then, I am very grateful to the convener, Dr. Abhishek Verma, for organizing this webinar, and the coordinator of this webinar, Dr. Lokendra Oja. This event made possible by efforts of Team WVC, that is World Virtual Conference. Thank you all. Last but not the least, all participants from different parts of country who attended this webinar. Thank you so much for your attentive listening. Thanks to all for making this webinar successful with your contribution. Thanks a lot. Keep learning. Over to convener.
It's thank you very much, madam, and it's my privilege to be part of this World Virtual Conferences, and I'm looking forward for more set of webinars, which is just pertain to a particular task, like what are the recent advancements in deep learning, and how could you choose a correct model. That type of discussion that will attract more audience, that will be helpful for people also. The reason is, I have authored a textbook that is getting released on 23rd of this month on deep learning for Pearson Education, where we try to find out when can people can go for deep learning, when can they go for a hybrid model. All these things, discussions will be there. When if there is an opportunity, we could do a other webinar on various deep learning aspects that will attract people who are working on AI. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I have to thank the coordinator, Dr. Oja sir, and Abhishek Verma, the convener of this particular conference, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.